What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things.
With Shawn and Andrew.
We're back to relationship headlines, part 2.
That's right. If you missed part 1, we're giving our take on some relationship topic, some headlines, some kind of recent events.
Specifically, like the recession as it pertains to dating.
And the dual income, no kids trend.
And is romance dead?
So we made it through exactly a quarter of the headlines that we were supposed to, and we're going to resume this as the same topic, finishing out our thoughts. If you missed part 1, we'll link that down below. Go check it out. But it is interesting. The long and short of what we covered the first time around is that there seems to be less of an appetite.
Yeah.
At least for the past 2 decades, for romance, relationships, including sex.
And a lot more pressure.
Yes.
A lot more pressure on people to be a very specific thing. And to it's either success or failure. And the stories that were being served up on social media and media are all negative. So it's not really super encouraging for people to go down that route of dating or marriage or family.
We're exploring these topics as well with you. So if we have awkward pauses or it's because we're just trying to process this as well. But let us know your thoughts if you are processing it, because we love opinions and we love different perspectives and we find it fascinating. So let's talk about the reasons that Gen Z is dating less.
Gen Z are people born between 1995 and 2012.
Are you a Gen Zer?
Me?
Yes.
No.
Well, we are millennials.
We are. We're old.
91 and 92 birthdays.
Yeah.
But half of Gen Z men report that they play video games daily, often with their friends, which leads to less need for social interaction. No.
Don't get me started.
No, Shawn.
Don't get me started.
No, actually, let's get started on this.
I very much so disagree with the majority of video games out there.
Okay, fine. There have been studies done that for males, video games actually do fill a social gap and can be positive. What games exactly that entails, it's kind of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But there can be positive social derivatives of playing video games.
I know. However, if this statistic is saying that these Gen Z men are reporting they're playing video games daily, that's leading less. It's leading to less outside social interaction. I don't think that's healthy.
I'm just not a scorched earth anti-video game guy.
I don't know why I am.
I know you are. I know. Which is fine.
Really dislike it. I almost H-word it.
But just because it's not a personal interest of yours doesn't mean it can't be a personal interest or hobby of other people and it be healthy.
I think everything in moderation, but I do think there's a lot to it of even having the social interaction. I agree you can be playing a video game and you can be communicating with your friends who are across the world or across the country or next door or whatever. That could be fun. That can be a social interaction. However, if that is one of the reasons that you aren't out pursuing a wife that you might be if that's on your list of things to do, find a wife or find a spouse or find a partner, and you're choosing your video games as your social interaction, and that's causing you to not do that, that is not okay.
I agree with that, but just understand there's a range of people's approach to video games and how much they play it. So also it's interesting coming from the person who has a video game herself. You have a video game and you're kind of anti-video games. Fascinating.
You just had to throw that in there.
I did. But it is interesting. You look at a guy like Steve Wozniak, who co-founded Apple. We've had the chance to meet him. He is anti-screens. That guy reads the newspaper. He doesn't read news off his phone. I don't even know if he has an Apple phone, the thing that he created. Carry on.
Yeah.
So one side effect of video games may be that too many teens watch online imitations of life experiences instead of having their own. More teens are content watching from the sidelines rather than becoming active participants in their own lives. There's growing evidence that Gen Z women are more suspicious of marriage than their parents. That's interesting.
Wait, those are two very different things.
Yes.
You skimmed over the first one.
I did. I was just reading quotes.
The teens watching from the sidelines is an issue.
Okay, yes. On to the next. Evidence that Gen Z women are suspicious of marriage, more suspicious of marriage than their parents. I feel like there's a lot of negative PR around marriage. So maybe that accounts for it. But surveys show that young people put marriage and serious relationships on the back burner, which could explain why research from UCLA finds that young adults aged 18 to 24 want to see less sex and romance in their television shows and movies. Fascinating. They don't even want to see it. Well, I don't want to see sex, but the romance side of things, like the stories of love or the,
Interesting. I wonder why.
yeah, educational attainment and professional priorities supersede interest in establishing romantic relationships.
I just think kind of some of it's a bummer. What do you think?
Do you ever feel like you prioritize professional priorities over romantic relationships?
Now?
Ever?
For sure.
How did that work out?
I didn't have boyfriends or serious relationships.
I'm just here to make conversation. It's fascinating because you prioritizing that instead of relationships, prioritizing gymnastics specifically, led to extraordinary outcomes, which I think is what people get enticed by. Like, hey, if I want to be rich, I have to just be obsessive about being rich. And then the relationships will come later, which that doesn't always happen. You know, we talked about this last time, but the thing you are in control of is the quality of your relationships with the people around you, whether it be your family, your neighbors, whatever, even going out to search for a partner. You're not in control of the success that you have, or if you win a gold medal, or if you become rich.
I also think it's a little bit different in my situation. Like I don't think my situation actually feeds this statistic. Because by the time I was done, I was 16. And then when I went into the work field, I actually did the opposite. I quit working to a certain extent and sacrificed a lot of my business to work on the family side of life. And I'm not even talking kids. I'm talking about like pursuing you and like working to find a spouse.
Shawn legitimately quit. You were like very much in the limelight. You just set all that aside to move to Nashville so that we could start dating.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
But I think the whole statistical part about people are putting education and professional priorities ahead of relationships, I don't like disagree with that fully, but I don't think you have to choose education and business over romance for it to work. Does that make sense? Like you don't have to, you can have all of that. You can get an education and have a romantic relationship, and you can have a profession. But I do think learning early on within like that world how to prioritize and make room for all of it is important. I think the scorched earth mentality that our society has right now of I'm just going to push all that to the back burner and I'm going to like I have to be ride or die at a profession to be successful and become rich before I ever find a partner is false.
Well, the idea of having a plan B is kind of frowned upon. They're like, hey, you should go all in on certain things, which that's kind of are we writing a book about that? Commitment? No, it's kind of like you can maybe have multiple irons in the fire that make the collective fire hotter. And you can have it all.
You can have it all, but I do think at the end of the day, if you are left with only one thing, what is it that you want? And I think if you can answer that question, it'd be business, then yeah.
There's a cost to that though.
For sure. But like,
and if you want family over everything else, there's a cost to that.
I'm just saying like at the end of the day, I don't care if you're 18, 25, 35, 65. Like what if you can only choose one, what is it that you want? And you should probably slightly put that more as a priority than anything else. Even if you're trying to be a billionaire, you should still try to like prioritize that a little bit.
Why do you need to be a billionaire? I think I bring up your story because it is the extraordinary result, like a bigger house or the biggest house or the next biggest award or the fancy career title that people strive to have. And so like oftentimes outside of gymnastics, when you can't be 16 to achieve career success, they are doing what you did at a young age to achieve extraordinary results.
And I just know from my experience and my personal opinion, this is because in my personal opinion, even at 16, I would have told you if I could only choose one thing in life at the very end of the day, it was going to be a family. Like that would have been my priority over anything. But all I can remember is like having all of these opportunities and traveling the world and doing all of these things and seeing so many people in the same situation, just like generations ahead of me. That's what I was surrounded by starting from 13. Like uber successful people who were so lonely. And I literally got to witness that as a kid growing up. Just people grinding to have more and more and more. And they just weren't like happy people.
So defining enough helps.
Yeah.
Okay, next section here. Is there a dating recession overall?
In short, yes, according to research.
The sources we're citing here are the American Survey Center and Pew Research. But in 1980, just 6% of 40-year-olds had never been married.
Whoa.
And in 2021, this bumped up to 25% of 40-year-olds had never been married.
4 in 10 young men report having neither hooked up nor dated as undergraduates.
Most single women believe they are happier than married women, but say married men are happier than their single counterparts. Interesting.
Most single men, 56%, and single women, 54%, feel pessimistic about finding a partner they would be happy with.
62% of Americans say dating is more difficult today than it was a decade ago.
I agree with that.
That's crazy though, because how would that be with all these dating apps and like so much access? It's crazy.
There's too much access. That's why.
It's paradoxical. It's
You and
really
I
fascinating.
I've talked about this. I could not imagine dating today because the only information you and I had on each other pretty much before our first date was I met your older brother at an event, like face to face. He talked to me for a little bit. He talked to you for a little bit, and it was like, I think you guys should meet. And we go out on a limb and you go into this thing blind, learning about each other face to face, asking questions, reading tones, reading body language, figuring each other out. Now, with all these dating apps, you're not even giving people a chance. You either look at a picture and swipe and say no, or you learn every possible thing about them, their hobbies, their interests, their resumes, their family, every single thing they've posted on Instagram or social media. You learn every single thing there is to know before you ever go on a first date. So you've already formed a thought and formed an expectation and formed a standard. And if they don't live up to it, goodbye. And I feel like, what's the Mr. Psychiatrist? What's the thing? Psychologist. What did I say?
Psychiatrist.
All right. What's the ism of like, you have so many options that you can't choose one?
Paradox of choice. Yeah.
If you live in a world of online dating, you can choose from anybody in the world.
Yeah. There's many studies on that, which is fascinating. Of when you have fewer options, you're more satisfied with the option that you end up with. And you're more satisfied. You make the choice quicker, and you're more satisfied with that option.
But with all these like online dating apps and stuff, if you're if you're not just like looking in your state because you're like, oh, we could move. You're not just looking in your country. Like, when would you ever swipe and feel like that is the best option in the entire world for me?
Yeah, when I haven't explored the whole world, then I can. Uh, you're saying that dating is the process of learning how to be curious about someone else. And when the internet provides all the information on someone else, you don't need to be curious. And thus, that joyful process that's very important in having a meaningful relationship gets zapped.
If you're trying to find someone to coexist with for the rest of your life, I don't think starting that online is a good way to go.
Hmm. Another statistic, I'm moving on, that struck me was the most single women believe they are happier than married women. Most single women believe they're happier than married women. We've talked about the divorce rates in gay male relationships is somewhere in the 20 to 30%. And heterosexual relationships, the divorce rate is about 50%. And then in gay lesbian couples, it's like 70 or 80%. Meaning there is almost more of a desire for independence from women, which makes the male position really fragile and independent, even though it's, or fragile and dependent, even though it's often positioned as inverted of that. You know what I'm saying? So single women think they're happier than married women. Like, I don't need that, which is kind of true. It's kind of true.
But I also think that could play into how married women are being portrayed in the media. This goes back to what I was arguing in part 1, which is I do think for the most part as an American, the overarching storylines we're seeing that algorithms are choosing to show are negative. They're oppressive. They're not painting great pictures. Have you ever flipped over a bottle of cleaner and thought, wait, what even is all of this stuff in it? Yep, same. In the US, cleaning companies aren't actually required to list all of their ingredients. So you could be spraying who knows what all over your counters, your kids' toys, your home, every day.
Yeah, that's actually crazy. Research links conventional cleaning chemicals to things like skin irritation, hormone disruption, even respiratory issues. That's pretty scary when you think about it.
That's why I'm obsessed with Branch Basics. It was started by a group of women who were on their own health journeys, and they realized once they ditched the toxins, their bodies started to feel so much better. And now they're helping us do the same.
Branch Basics is totally transparent. They list every ingredient right on the bottle and online. There's no dyes, no fake fragrances, no junk, just plant and mineral-based ingredients that are actually safe for you and your family. We really trust this brand.
Ready to clean up your home and your health? Head to branchbasics.com to shop their premium starter kit and save 15% off with code EASTFAM at branchbasics.com.
That's 15% off your new Branch Basics premium starter kit at branchbasics.com with promo code EASTFAM. Make the change today because you and your family deserve better.
So yeah, swap out that mystery spray for something you can actually trust. Your body and your family will thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, even though you could be more successful, independent, and there's definitely less hassle. I'm speaking from my position. Is that really what you want? Which goes back to your earlier point of, what do you want the most? Do you want to have the most amount of comfort or success or least amount of hassle? Like, relationships inherently are full of friction. So anyway, shall we walk through some of the reasons for the dating recession?
Yeah.
Okay, so first, there's this grass is always greener mentality. Study said that roughly 24% of single men and 15% of single women believe that most or all women would leave their current partner for someone who was wealthier and more attractive. A majority, 56% to be exact, of Americans who are not married say they worry more about ending up with the wrong partner than they do about not finding someone to build a life with. we saw a comment the other day. You make me think, it was like really an endearing comment about us. You make me think that love is somewhere out there for me. And I thought, no, dude, love is in here. It's in you. Like, it's your choice. It's not some mystical treasure hunt, kind of. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think it's very flattering when people are like, oh, if only I could go out and find what you guys have. And I want to be cautious going down this route.
Bro, we suffered together. We suffered because of each other.
But not even that. But do you know how easily we could have ended up as part of a statistic?
We still could, honestly.
Yeah. But like if either of us chose not to fight for it, or if I woke up and started to say, you know what? Did I choose right? And like, am I happy? And like, if we both start doing that and we don't continue to like actively work for it, yeah. Like but we have chosen within our marriage when we got married to say, you know what? I'm turning off other options. That's not a thing.
You burn the boats.
But if you live with the grass is always greener mentality, heck yeah. I can see why marriage wouldn't work.
So my pushback against the grass always greener mentality is make your freaking yard greener.
Make it the greenest.
Make your grass the greenest, dude.
And I'm not saying that there aren't marriages and aren't like relationships out there that truly aren't compatible. Like I believe there are people who are not compatible. However, I also believe there are probably a lot of people in the world that you could get married to and have a beautiful life with. You know?
Because you put your blinders on, you put your head down, you burn the boats, you say, okay, we got stuff we need to figure out. And just as much with you as with anybody else.
Yeah.
And so let's do it.
Why do arranged marriages sometimes become the most wonderful?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, second, cultural trends. Cultural trends like dating yourself first have gained in popularity. And after the last few elections, people have very strong political opinions that are deal breakers for dating dating other people, and that's happening more than ever. People used to be more likely to date someone with a different political affiliation than them until now. I mean, we know people that bring up politics on the first date, and I just feel like, what are we doing? You know? Again, there's a lot of things that play into this. Like if you're meeting someone that your parents introduce you to or is in your local community, a lot of that kind of gets filtered and sorted out inherently, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of a fan of date local, you know?
Yeah.
But also, what are we doing?
I am beating it at a horse. But it's like, it's just the idea that like, the social network, like the algorithms are winning. If they're polarizing people that much, so much so that you can't even go on a date with someone because they might have a differing opinion than yours, then like it's working. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Check your heart too.
And it's also like one of our friends who brings up the political question on the very first date, and he's just like, absolutely not. I want to be like, are you not even curious as to why? Ask why.
Yeah, hear the story or what? Yeah.
It's just.
Okay, next. So we have grass is always greener mentality, cultural trends. Next is changing societal norms.
Relationship goals have become less clear and a greater potential source of disagreement. People are breaking up over defining their relationships. I want to get married, but you don't, etc. People are more open to different types of relationships now than they have been in the past. And casual dating is on the rise with a lack of marriage commitment.
Interesting. I guess, we really defined our outcome from the get-go.
I was looking for a husband.
Yeah, we said that. And then that really changed the whole process for us.
And to be clear, we didn't really say that, but we were both like, you know what? I'm going to be me and you're going to be you. And we're going to like try as hard as we can. But if this doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
But,
and
like, we're in this for a reason.
there's also stylistic ways to make that come across less abrasive. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, dating to me is like a serious thing. You know, I
Yes.
take this isn't casual. Like, I don't approach
Yeah.
this
I'm not just doing
nonchalant.
this for fun.
Yeah. Right, which
Yeah.
it has certain implications.
Yeah.
So just know you don't have to come out guns blazing with all these like really sharp words like marriage
Yeah.
from the first date. Um, People are more open to different types of relationships now than they have been in the past. I'm like in theory in favor of that, but also having had 3 kids with
Yeah.
the theoretical love of my life and realizing how much that can tax the relationship, there is benefit to the cost of separation in a marriage. And it's just like a really burdensome process, which makes you not want to separate, which makes you stick in the game, you know?
Which makes marriage beneficial sometimes to be like, we did this thing.
Yeah. And if you're going to have kids and grow the family in that sense, I think marriage is a compelling route.
Yeah.
Next, dating apps don't feel safe anymore. Fewer than 4 in 10 single women believe that dating apps are a safe way to meet people, a 23-point drop since 2019. Women don't feel safe to trust meeting up with a stranger or are afraid of getting taken advantage of or catfished. That happens more than you'd think. The catfish thing, we know several people who have been catfished.
Oh, yeah. But this goes back to what I was saying. I just don't think dating apps are great.
Date local. Let's make it a trend.
And it's just like, stop thinking that across the world there's going to be a better option. Find someone that makes you laugh. See if you can figure it out.
I think this ties back to the career side of the conversation, defining what enough is.
Yeah.
Like, do I need the hottest chick? Or do I need the funniest chick or the most successful chick? Or do I need whatever the most thing is? No, you probably just need a wife.
But
You
that
need-
also plays into social media and what it said, where like teens are living the lives out of other people. If I'm actively looking to date local and find someone, but I'm watching these Instagram famous people with their $1 million rings, and then that literally is putting the storyline in my head of like, oh, that's what I have to go find.
Yeah, it's crazy. Find a wife. There's people that you want to look at online, and there's people that you want to take home to mom. You know, different.
Interesting.
Did that come across weird? I mean, I'm just workshopping here.
There's people I want to look at online, but there's
okay, that's a good.
one person I want to just take home to mom. I was like, okay. We'll talk about that one later.
Okay, all right.
Number 4.
D.I.n.k.s. Let's talk about D.I.n.k.s. D.I.n.k.s means dual income, no kids. All right, here's the deal. Nobody likes to wake up not feeling their best and not ready to take on the day. So good mornings start with optimal sleep, and Lagoon pillows are made just for that.
You guys, you should know by now how obsessed we are with these pillows. They have changed the game for us. You can take Lagoon's 2-minute sleep quiz to get matched with your perfect pillow. It's the thing you lay your head on for literally 8 hours a night, and you deserve a restful sleep.
I like how the pillow stays cool all night long, but you can also remove the fill inside, so it's the perfect fit for each individual. When our pillows arrived, Shawn took a little of the fill out of hers, and I kept mine as it was. And I thought it was so cool how you can customize your pillow at home.
With little kids, you already wake up with enough aches and pains that you don't need. I personally would toss and turn all the time on my cheap little pillow, and I really don't anymore.
Waking up for our morning routine has never felt better. I'm refreshed and pain-free thanks to my Lagoon pillow. Go to lagoonsleep.com/EastFam and take their awesome 2-minute sleep quiz to find your match.
Use code EastFam for 15% off your first order.
We do want to be clear that this isn't talking about people who are unable to have children. This is specifically people who do not desire to have kids. And there's nothing wrong with that if you do. We just think it's interesting to look at the facts about this and the reasoning behind it, since we are not dinks ourselves. Just like, yeah, what are the trends of why people make this stylistic? Yeah, I think all of this we need to preface. We're not out here just slinging hot takes on different people's styles. It's more interesting. We're speaking of a place of feeling fulfilled in where our life has taken us. And obviously there's frustrations and imperfections with that. And more commenting on these people who I think are largely speaking from a place of I don't feel fulfilled or meaningful in life. So it's us giving, I don't know, commentary on that. Like, hey, we feel some type of meaning. You want to try this thing out?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know what to think about this. In the sense of like dual income, no kids. So a dink is two people who don't plan to have kids.
But a dink who plans to become a parent is called a
A
dinky, or dual income, no kids yet.
But like,
and if you're single, you'd be a sink, single income, no kids, or a sinky, single income,
also,
no
why
kids
are we
yet.
putting names to
I kind of
everything?
like it. I like sinky, to be honest. I do
But
like
why do we have to put a name to literally everything?
No, because people buy into the lifestyle. That's why. Like
I know,
marriage,
but like
it's like saying marriage to me.
a dinky. You're literally two people who have jobs who just don't have kids yet.
They're choosing that actively. They're identifying as dinks.
I was talking about dinkies.
Oh yeah. Dinky does feel.
So I'm literally like, you're just two people who have jobs who don't have kids yet. A dink, like, yeah, great. If you're finding fulfillment and just being with your person, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay, so
But that also doesn't play into a dating recession or like, is romance dead? That's actually feeding it, you know, like people are looking for someone to share life with.
yeah, so that's true. So they have chosen to not partake in the dating recession. They're
Yeah.
not a part of that statistic. But demographic trends. So the prevalence of DINK households has been on the rise. In 2024, 43% of American households were childless, reflecting a significant demographic shift, according to Forbes. The U.S. Census Bureau data shows that childless households are on the rise, with the percentage potentially approaching 50% in the coming years. This trend is attributed to various factors, including the economy, personal preferences, and societal changes. There is a population crisis on the horizon here where we're not meeting the replacement threshold for children. So I think that's more why I wanted to talk about this, because like, you know, have kids so we can all prosper, or like, I don't know what happens when the population collapses, but from what I've seen, it doesn't seem good.
Yeah.
So the economic impact of a DINK households often have higher incomes compared to families with children. The median net worth of a couple with no children was around $399,000. Wow, really? In 2022, over $100,000 more than it was in 2019, and around $150,000 more than that of couples with children. So they're saying couples with children make around $250,000. Couples without make just around $400,000. 88% of DINKs direct their income toward enriching experiences and self-development. The spending power positions DINKs as a key audience for luxury brands, financial services, and quality of life upgrades. Okay. Direct income toward enriching experiences. That's where I am drawn towards, or it's like children are enriching.
They can be. If you're actively choosing not to have kids, then you're choosing a different lifestyle that can be more like just as enriching for you, you know?
Yeah.
But again, this doesn't play into a dating recession. This actually is the opposite. Like people are trying to find partners to travel with and to have like enriching lives with.
How about this correlation with the dating recession? The decision to remain child free is often influenced by a desire to keep personal freedom. I think there's overlap there.
Yeah. I think that's the me movement of like I want more time for me. I want, and having kids is a very selfless thing, and that never goes away. But like, it can also be very, very fulfilling.
Psychologists have explored the motivations behind the DINK lifestyle, identifying factors such as prioritizing pleasure and healthy selfishness as key drivers. Fascinating. I mean, I think, yeah, there's a lot of good ways to live a good life. I guess I would speak to the people who are fearful
Yeah.
of kids or fearful of the loss of freedom or fearful of that hampering career success. And it's like, I think your perspective changes, your definition of success changes, and you don't know what's on the other side of the fence. But eh, parents will talk about children as a fulfilling experience. So
Mhm.
again, I guess I'm just to the people who aren't fulfilled. I'm not saying go have kids. I'm saying if you're stable, you're willing, you're able, uh, but you're fearful. I don't know. Like,
I would start with a spouse.
yeah, yeah.
I
What do you
don't
think
even know
about?
how to sum up this episode.
Yeah, what do you think about this?
I don't know. I just think I think life is better shared with someone. My personal opinion is that that's a romantic someone that I marry and I start a family with. Personally.
A bunch of little someones
Yeah.
that you can hang out with. Do you like the current events type episodes?
I do. They make me think
It
a
was a
lot.
lot of stats. I feel like I was ripping through stats there. So
Yeah.
apologies for that.
Tell us what you think on all of this. I don't know what to think.
Yeah. Again, just want to reiterate, we're not criticizing
No.
styles. It's more commentary on that.
Yeah.
But thank you for listening. If you made it this far, please subscribe to the show and give it a rating. And we'll see you next week. Publish every week, every Wednesday. We'll do interviews twice a month on Thursday. And we love doing this. So we'll see you next time. I'm Andrew.
I'm Shawn.